Hello, it's G. Hernandez Life Bible Study. Welcome to Leviticus chapter 23. We're going to do a full chapter reading and verse by verse. We're going to go line by line afterwards. As always, I'll go ahead and start with the Lord's Prayer as written in Matthew 6. And it starts off with, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Okay, so how this works is I will go ahead and read the chapter out of the King James Version of the Bible, and then we will go line by line with the help of the Holy Spirit to sort of kind of help describe what's going on. So let's go ahead and start with a outline. Leviticus 23, we're going to read, it's going to be a chapter of about 44 verses. In verses 1 through 3, we're going to read about the Sabbath. Verses 4 through 8, we're going to read about the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. In verses 9 through 14, we're going to read about the Feast of Firstfruits. 15 through 22, we're going to read about the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost. Verses 23 through 25, the Feast of Trumpets. 26 through 32, the Day of Atonement. And 33 through 44, the Feast of Tabernacles. So this chapter is about the appointed feasts of the Lord. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm on the wrong chapter. So let's jump up to chapter 23. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start reading, and then afterwards we'll go verse by verse. So chapter 23, and it reads, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, an holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the seventh day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the firstfruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, and to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf an he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be wine, the fourth part of an hin. And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7 Sabbaths shall ye number 50 days. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the firstfruits unto the Lord. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto the Lord. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the firstfruits for a wave offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priests. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest. Neither shalt thou gather any gleanings of the harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon this day. Beside the Sabbaths of the Lord, and besides your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of the Lord. All right, great. So that is chapter 23. And yeah, let's kind of go over a little bit about it again. So again, we're looking at this. This is our outline. We're going through the Sabbath, which is what we're reading about, the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Firstfruits, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles. So let's kind of get into that. Chapter or verses 1 through 3. What did we cover? the Sabbath, verses 1 to 3. The Lord spake unto Moses. So we have another issue where, if you remember, these people are currently out in the desert, outside of Egypt, in between Egypt and Israel, where they're going. At the time, it's not Israel, it's still called Canaan. The Canaanites have taken over, and God is not happy about it. And God is going to take the Israelites, the children of Israel, into the land of Canaan and give them that land. And he's giving them laws about what they're going to need to do during that time. And so he's up on the mountain likely, and he's telling them, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which he shall. So here are my feasts. You need to make these feasts holy. You need to, these are like, and these feasts we would call like holidays, I guess you can say. These would be like his holidays. In modern times we call holidays. And on the Sabbath is also not what we consider like in the modern Christian era, where we worship on Sundays, which is, interesting, but it's actually Saturday. What we call Saturday is the Sabbath, right? A lot of people know this and a lot of people don't, but that is the real case of the matter. So he's saying that on the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. And if we recall, you go back to Genesis, remember he created the earth in 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested. Well, that day is the same thing that we should do. When he rested, we should rest. Shall do no work. And if you go further into the Bible, when you get to Jesus, there's a moment where Jesus heals a man with, I want to say, leprosy, or maybe he had something like with his arm, a shriveled arm or something. And a lot of the Pharisees were not happy because it was a Sabbath, and this man comes in asking to be healed, and Jesus, talks to the rest of the Pharisees, and he says, what's is it right to heal or destroy on the Sabbath? And ultimately, the point of the matter is he heals the man, and the Pharisees get mad because he healed somebody on the Sabbath, which they were calling work. That's work. You can't be doing work on the Sabbath. And he says that something along the lines of the Sabbath was made for man, not the man for Sabbath. So this day of rest is it's for our benefit. It's ours, and it's something that we should work to revere, because let's just get into modern day, issues where there's a lot of people that have to work. I mean, a lot of people just aren't making enough money at their jobs. And so people take multiple jobs, and obviously nobody cares. Even Sunday that we work, that's the day that we consider holy as Christians, most Christians, and people are still working on the Sundays. Some people just don't take any time off, and it's very, bad for the body, bad for the soul, right? Anyway, getting into it again, let's get back to verses 4 through 8. Verses 4 through 8 are going to be the Passover and the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, right? So these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations. So he's telling them you're going to proclaim these in all their seasons. You're going to do this all the time. The 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. This is also interesting because their first month was not our first month. We call January the first month in modern days. But I believe April is the first month for them. In these days, April was what we call, the month of April was the first month. And so we even know this, that the Passover ends in what we call Easter nowadays as Christians. So that's where you come across it, is in April generally. So the 14th day, let's call it just April 14th of the first month, is the Lord's Passover. The Passover, again, if you recall, going back to Egypt, they had just gone, left Egypt. And in Egypt, the Pharaoh did not want to let them leave. And ultimately, they went through the, what is it called? The 10 plagues, I guess you can say, the 10 plagues, where, a whole bunch of horrible things happened to the Egyptians because they wouldn't let go of God's children. And the last one was obviously killing of all the firstborn children. And God told them to put some blood on their door frames, and they had to kill a lamb and do some things like that, and then after it happened, they fled really fast. Remember, they were supposed to eat unleavened bread, so this is in memorial of that. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And unleavened bread, I think a lot of modern people eat tortillas, like as a, tortillas. That seems to be kind of like an unleavened bread. Pitas, I think, like pita bread is another one I think that is unleavened. So unleavened bread, or leavened bread is, bread that pops up and expands with the leaven. Unleavened bread would be something like these pita breads or tortillas or something along those lines. And if you remember in Exodus, he mentioned the reason why was because they were going to have to leave very fast. So they didn't have time to leaven the bread, which again, if you know bread, you're supposed to keep it out for quite a while, but unleavened, you don't have to leave it uh, uh, to expand for that much time. No servile work. The first day is a holy convocation. No servile work, right? But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. So for 7 days, they had to make offerings to the Lord. They had to do burnt offerings. So that's another thing. So after that, we move into, let's see, verses 9 through 14. We're going to read about the Feast of Firstfruits. So we got another instance here where the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, so it's another time which we can consider maybe it's another incident, another page, another chapter, another, it's just another instance of where God is saying to Moses, tell everybody, speak unto the children of Israel and tell them, when you come into the land, ye shall reap the harvest thereof, and you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits. So these will be like the farmers. You're a farmer, you go somewhere, you farm, you plant some vegetables or whatever, you plant some produce and they grow, you're going to bring a sheaf. And sorry about that. Let me turn this phone off. Where am I again? Verse 10, a sheaf. I kind of wanted to look into this, and you might not be able to see it, so let me bring up the bottom. A sheaf. No, that is not the sheaf. I'm looking for. What? I can't click on it. Why is it not clicking? Well, you may not be able to see it, but a sheaf reads, it's H6016. It's a Hebrew word. It means properly a heap. That is a sheaf. Also an omer as a dry measure. So it's a measure. It's a bit of their produce. So you're supposed to bring the first fruits. That's what it means. The first fruits. And you're supposed to of your harvest that goes to God, to the priest, right? And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow. So I guess waving, they must have done some sort of kind of ritual that I'm not sure of. But they were waving it, and they call a lot of these things wave offerings. So they must have literally probably been waving it to an extent, maybe over the fires or something. I don't really know, but that's what they did on the morrow after the Sabbath. So this would be like what we call the Sunday. On the Sunday, they come and do it. It's the day after the Sabbath, right? And that day, when you wave the sheaf, you shall also offer an he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering. So, yeah, you were supposed to sacrifice a lamb, a he lamb, a male. Couldn't have blemishes. It had to be in great condition. It couldn't just be, like some one of the lambs with problems, like a broken leg or with skin problems or anything like that. Let's see. In the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor, and the drink offering thereof shall be wine, the fourth part of a hin. So you're also making flour mixed with the meat offering. You put, and so it's interesting because it's kind of like what we would kind of consider, I guess, like frying. You usually, if you're gonna fry some meat, you're gonna put the meat inside of like flour, and it goes in the oil. So let's see. And the drink offering thou shall be of wine. So you also poured out some wine for him. But you won't eat bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. So this is saying what? That you're not going to eat bread. You're not going to eat dry corn, I guess, parched corn, nor green ears, which is corn that doesn't seem like it's ready to be eaten. Until the self same day that ye have brought an offering. So that means you weren't even supposed to eat of your garden, your farm. Anything that you harvested, you should not eat until this day of the Feast of Firstfruits, where you actually came and gave your sacrifice. That's when you were supposed to start eating of your harvest, but you couldn't do it before then. That's what he's saying. So that's kind of important. Again, it's very important that God said the first of the things should go to him. And I know some people in modern era, they consider this kind of strange or rude, or again, they don't think that you should give this glory to God, a lot of people. But this was the glory that he was commanding for everybody to do, right? So let's continue on. Verses 15 through 22, we're going to go ahead and read about the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost. So it says, and you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wheat offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. So after the first fruits, which it doesn't give us a time. Let me see. Go back. I'm not sure. It doesn't really give us a day, so I'd have to look into that more. But after the Feast of First Fruits, you wanted to wait, what, 7 weeks, 7 Sabbaths. And even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days. So yeah, 7 weeks, 7 times 7 is 49. And then another day is the 50 day. And then you're going to offer a new meat offering to the Lord. So you're offering another offering after 7 weeks, right? Uh, ye shall bring out of your habitation 2 loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour, they shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. So this time, now they're able to eat leaven, and the leaven is part of the sacrifice. Whereas during the Passover, no leaven. The this one, definitely Pentecost. They do leaven is you actually do make bread. And along with the bread, you're going to offer 7 lambs without blemish of the first year. So 1-year-old lambs and 1 young bullock and 2 rams. So 7 lambs, 1 young bullock and 2 rams. And I guess rams, I'm not into the husbandry, so I'm not the most familiar with these animals, but I guess 2 rams are the sheep, male sheep, I think. I think that's what they are. But they're going to be for burnt offering, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire. So if you recall from the last chapter, there's a few different kinds of sacrifices, and these are calling for the burnt sacrifices. And the burnt sacrifices were completely burnt, whereas there were some other sacrifices that the priest got to have some, and the Thanksgiving sacrifice, you as a sacrificer also got a portion. But the burnt sacrifices are wholly burnt, just completely burnt for God, right? Let's see. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering. 1 kid of the goat for sin offerings, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. So what is this saying? 1 kid of the goats. So goat, you sacrifice a goat, 2 lambs, and these are your sacrifices. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of firstfruits for a wave offering. So again, they get the bread, and they wave it somehow with 2 lambs. And like I said, I imagine they were probably waving it over the fires. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priests. And ye shall proclaim on the self same day that it may be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. Again, like holidays, you shouldn't be doing any work. Don't be working. It's a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Now, this is important to note that they're talking to the Levite, or not to the Levites, but to the children of Israel. It shall be a statute forever in your dwellings throughout your generations. That's not talking about modern day. We are no longer these Israelites. We are the Gentiles. We are not subject to this law. No one really should be following this law anymore, unless you consider yourself a Jew in modern days, and that is, quite honestly, it's a very dangerous thing to call yourself a Jew. I know a lot of people will be mad about, hearing those words, and a lot of people think that that's anti-Semitic rhetoric. But if you can't prove your lineage all the way back to these people, you're not really a Jew. I mean, we learned this in what Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah, if they couldn't prove their lineage as a Levite, they were put out from the priesthood. And so in the same days today, if you're a Jew, you would be part of the priesthood for the Christians. And so you would need to be able to show your records, or else you should be put out as polluted, is what it had said. So, and if you did consider yourself a Jew today, you would have to be following all of these laws and all of these sacrifices, or else, God is mad at you. Now, that isn't to say that these laws won't come back and we won't have to fulfill these laws again, but that won't happen until, of course, after during the millennial reign. I guess a lot of people call it the millennial reign, where Jesus will reign from Israel for 1,000 years, at which point then we are going to be children of Israel. And these are going to be statutes that we are more than likely going to have to follow, even as Christians, because we will be there. Jesus will be our Lord. He'll be the King, actually reigning from Israel, and we will follow these laws again, because these are His laws, and His laws don't change. But in today's modern era, we as Christians, we have freedom from this, because obviously this is very difficult to follow. I mean, think about how much you're sacrificing. This wasn't just one person doing this sacrifice. This was everybody doing these sacrifices. So you had to have goats, you had to have lambs, you had to have a farm, you had to have bulls. This was all stuff that modern people, we just don't have on our own. I don't have bulls in my backyard. I go to the supermarket, I buy beef. I don't even eat sheep. I don't think I've ever eaten a lamb. I don't even think I've ever eaten a sheep. How can I follow these laws? I don't even know anything about husbandry, like I've said. So it's very difficult. How would I ever follow these laws? I'm just so blessed that I am not subject to these laws. But in the future, after Jesus Christ is returned and He rules from Israel for 1,000 years, then yes, we will be perfect, and it shouldn't be a problem at that time. Let's see. Again, waving. You're gonna wave them with the bread of the firstfruits. Did I say this already? 2 lambs, holy. You shall proclaim on the same day that holy convocation. You shall do no service. I think I read all this already. And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt make clean riddance of the corners thy field. When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am your God. This is interesting because a lot of people hate this, but this is something that can still kind of be followed in today's world. In America, how do I put this? It's a very sad thing. We have a lot of homeless people, and uh, a lot of people will steal and be harassed for their stealing. And again, I'm not saying that stealing is good, but there are certain instances that we consider stealing that really aren't stealing. So this would be the corners of thy field when so you're supposed to leave the outsides of your field unharvested, unreaped, and you can harvest the inside, but the outsides of the field should be left for the poor. Leave them for the poor, right? And in the same situation, in the same case we have in America, for example, the idea that a crime of theft is only a crime if it's over like $10. And I know a lot of people don't understand this, but theoretically, you should be able to go into a store and take anything that's less than $10 or up to a $10 value and leave. If you're poor, you should be able to do that. If you're a homeless person, you should be able to just go in, grab a sandwich that's $6-7 and just leave. And a lot of people think that again, just like it's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's God's mercy. So if you're not that merciful, obviously you're not as merciful as God. And you have to wonder about why you're not that merciful, I guess. I don't know. Okay, moving on. Verses 23 to 25, we're going to read about the Feast of Trumpets. Okay, and again, we've got this section. The Lord speaks unto Moses, saying, so it's another one of these introductions. Real quick, hold on. Feast of Trumpets. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, and the 1st day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So the 7th month, if we consider the 1st month April, then I guess the 7th month would be what, 4/11? This would be November. The 1st day of the month is going to be a Sabbath, which is interesting because our calendars, they fluctuate. November is not always going to start with the Saturday. It may sometimes start with the Saturday, but this is likely how this is why you would probably need to count moons and keep track of a calendar through some sort of lunar signs, some sort of that's how they did, the moon phase, the phases of the moon, and keeping track of the phases of the moon. This is probably how they kept track of the dates. So anyway, it's the memorial of blowing of trumpets. So November 1st, everybody gets out there and they blow trumpets, or at least the priest must have gotten out there, blowed trumpets. No servile work, so you don't do any work, and you make offerings. So that's very interesting. But now let's move on to verses 26 through 32. We're going to read about the the Day of Atonement, right? 26 to 32 is the Day of Atonement. So we start with this section again, this introduction. The Lord spake unto Moses on the 10th day of this 7th month. So we're going into November still, but 10th day, a Day of Atonement. It shall be a holy convocation. You shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. I'm not sure what he's trying to say by afflict your souls. So let me read a little bit. It shall be a holy, you shall afflict. H6031, which is a Hebrew word, a primitive root, possibly identical with a different word, through the idea of looking down or browbeating. To depress literally or figuratively, transitively or intransitively. Thing is by mistake, abase, self, afflict, answer, chasten self, deal heartily with, defile, exercise, force, gentleness, humble, hurt, ravishing by mistake, speak by some. So this is kind of a strange word. I'm reading the Strong's Hebrew over here. Yeah, you're supposed to be real like sad. This is a day of you're atoning for your mistakes. If you think about it, atonement means to, make up for what you've done. And so this was like a sad day. It's a day of atonement. You're supposed to be real sad and understanding of what's gone on. You're not going to do any work. It's a day of atonement. You're trying to make atonement to your God. For whatsoever soul it shall be shall not be afflicted in that it shall for whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. So if you're going around being all happy and like, hey, what's going on, everybody? If you didn't know about what's going on too, can you imagine? Everybody's running around, everybody's probably wearing sackcloth and ash is what they used to do. So they probably what we would consider dressing poorly, dressing in shambles and grieving and calling out to the Lord. If you're walking around just being happy, just being going about your business like nothing's going on, you should be cut off from his people. Again, the concept is, today we'd call it like prison, but they were probably put out of camps or put out, where you can't come back here. You can't come back into the church or into the tabernacle. You're supposed to be gone. You're no longer a child of Israel, is what he was saying. So he took this Day of Atonement very seriously. The Day of Atonement so far seems like it's the most severe. If you didn't follow it, you got cut off from your people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in the same day, that same soul will I destroy from among the people. So if you worked on that day, so again, it's like the idea of it's a holiday. If you go to work on the holiday, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go build a house, or I'm gonna go farm the fields, or I'm gonna go, take care of these animals and shear the lambs, or I don't know what you would do, but there's a lot of things that are considered work. You go out to work that day, God is saying he will destroy you from among his people. And I think, this is something that we obviously can't really prove or anything, but I think things were much different in those days. God was literally running around. He would kill you. You would die. It would be something that was probably common. People would see somebody fall down dead for seemingly no reason because he was working on that day. Now, in modern days, Jesus himself has said that there shall be no more signs given except for the sign of Jonah. So these signs that they had received, and this would be a sign like, if you're told don't work or you're going to die on this day, and then you see somebody work on that day and they die, that's a sign from God, right? Well, we don't have that anymore. We only get the sign of Jonah. So a lot of people don't realize that these things were probably different in those days where it was really true. You would really die. Now people may not have recognized it going on forward. Obviously, we know that the people didn't continue. Again, these people, the children of Israel, for 1,000 years, they didn't quite keep to this. So that means they probably wouldn't have recognized it later on. But in these days, during Moses, for sure, because a lot of this was already happening. And if they did work on that day and they dropped down dead, the other people understood why, and they understood. They took it to heart, and they really saw it as signs of God. Right? It's a sign of God. No manner of work, it says, it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even until even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. Again, it's a statute that is no longer in play for us as Christians. We may have this issue. We may have this, again, during the 1,000-year reign. Well, this will be the case. And people don't understand that 1,000-year reign, that it's written. What does it say? Jesus, how do I put this? I'll have to go look it up, but the story of the bridegroom, right? Or the story of the man with there's a parable that Jesus talks about, like where a man his son was getting married, so he goes out and he invites everybody to the wedding, and all of his friends and all of the rich people and all the people that are highly esteemed, they all had excuses for why they couldn't show up to the wedding. They're like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I'm just not going to make it, sorry. And so the man gets very upset because obviously it's a sign of disrespect to him. And then he goes in and he invites all the poor people, all the sick people, anybody out in the streets, he invites them all, and they come to this wedding feast. And then the story goes on to say that while they're there at the wedding feast, the man comes across the another man that is not dressed for the wedding. He's dressed some different way. And he casts him out. And he says, you get cast out where there's gnashing of teeth. So during that 1,000-year reign, that's going to be very, it's going to be the strictest laws that have ever been in place on earth. If you mess up at that point when we're perfect, you're gonna die, and you're gonna go to hell, and you're gonna be with the people that have rebelled against God. And so if we have to follow these laws again, if you go around and you're not afflicting your soul, meaning you're not showing how sad you are, you're going to die. So very, very strict rules. And again, we should just be so blessed that we don't have to follow these as Christians, and we won't have to follow these laws until we are perfect during that 1,000-year reign. So lastly, we have verses 33 through 44, which is the Feast of Tabernacles. And we start off again where the Lord is speaking to Moses to tell the children of Israel, talking about the 15th day of the 7th month. So now we're still in November. We had November 1st, November 10th, and now November 15th, right? And it's saying that for 7 days, we're going to be celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles. First day is going to be a holy convocation, so that's like a Sabbath. Do no servile work therein, right? No servile work. You're going to be 7 days you offer an offering made by fire. So 7 days you're making sacrifices. And the 8th day shall be a holy convocation. You shall offer an offering made by fire. So the 8th day you also make a sacrifice. And it's going to be a solemn assembly. No servile work, no work, remember. And he goes on to say, these are the feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon this day. So this day you make all kinds of sacrifices. And beside the Sabbath of the Lord, and besides your gift, and besides all your vows, besides all your free will offerings, which you are to give the Lord. So you're making all your offerings on this day. And when on the 5th day, when you've gathered the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the days, so remember, the sacrifices include sacrifices that people get food back from. It's not all burnt. The priest gets some stuff. You can get some things. You're coming. It's a holiday. It's a feast for 7 days. On the first day, boughs of goodly trees, branch, and so it's November, and I'm not a farmer either, but this seems like for them, this was a time of when they're actually harvesting so much stuff. You're gonna get boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of thick trees, willows of brook, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. So this was a happier celebration, whereas the Day of Atonement was a sad day. So now this week, you're rejoicing. You keep a feast for the Lord 7 days, which again, holiday, think about it, holiday of 7 days where they're just having a great time. They're rejoicing, they're eating, and it's going to be a statute forever in your generations. And you shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So a booth would have been like a temporary makeshift structure, probably with, just like a little structure with, some wood that's placed with some, tree tops or something, some big old leaves or grass on the top. But it doesn't seem like it's an actual structure that you might make to last, something that would last for a long time. This was probably a booth that was just something temporarily, because if you remember, they're out in the desert. These are temporary makeshift booths that they're probably creating just every so often that they can make them, and then destroy them when they need to, or leave them out, and they're just gonna be destroyed on their own with the fall apart. They're gonna fall apart or whatever. But he's saying that during the Feast of Booths, that's what they're doing. You're having a great feast for 7 days. But in that time, you're going to be like camping. Yeah, let's call it like a tent. Like we would call it like a tent. Instead of living in a house for that week, you're going to live in a tent for that week. And it was so that all the people would remember that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths, because he brought them out of Egypt. He made them stay in the desert. And we know that they ended up staying there for 40 whole years, right? When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am your Lord. And so that was the Feast of Booths. And the last verse is saying, Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feasts of the Lord. So these are the main holidays that God gave them. He gave them these holidays, and they were supposed to worship him on those during those times in a certain way. They weren't supposed to be doing things however they wanted. During the Feast of Booths, they weren't supposed to be dwelling in their houses. In the Day of Atonement, they weren't supposed to just be running around being all happy. You see what I'm saying? So these would have been things that they should have been celebrating the whole time. But we know that if you read further, that they didn't do it forever. In fact, I think, was it maybe Hezekiah that celebrated the Feast of Booths the correct way for the first time since David or something like that. I think it was the Feast of Booths, and I think it was Hezekiah, but I think he found the book of the Lord, or maybe it was Josiah. I'm not sure, but basically one of the kings finds the book of the law and finds out that they are doing things wrong, and then they celebrate, and I think it's the Feast of Booths, or maybe it was Pentecost or the Feast of Weeks. I don't really know, but they celebrate a holiday that they hadn't celebrated. And I know it had to be the Feast of Booths, because that's what they were saying. They hadn't celebrated the Feast of Booths in hundreds of years by that point. So they didn't quite stick to these. And for us modern people, how could we stick to them if they couldn't stick to them? So just thank God that we don't have to follow this law until we are perfect again. So anyway, that was chapter 23 of Leviticus chapter 23. I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. I kind of want to apologize. I am actually very sick right now. I am not feeling well. I went to the hospital yesterday. So I apologize if my words were, if I wasn't keeping focus or something, but I'm definitely very sick today. And I just want, to pray to God to heal me. I hope you heal me, Lord Jesus. And thank you for just giving me life today, because I woke up and I'm alive. And that's really the most important thing I even care about. Whatever else happens, but I'm alive. So thank you, Lord. Have a good day. I'm going to end this video. And as always, God bless you. Thank you.